Welcome to the Tesla Power Podcast. This is where we're building the Tesla energy community, covering solar panels, solar roof, and Powerwall for your home. I'm Aaron Brady, and today let's talk about the increasing unreliability of our power grid. Let's talk about Tesla's solar competitive advantages and more Chinese batteries and a bunch more. Let's do it. And as per usual, we'll kick off the pod with community input. You can participate in several ways. You can leave a comment below. You can link your YouTube videos. You can call 203-816-5150, or you can email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. You can also record an unlisted video question in the YouTube app. You can send a link, and I'll put your video question in the show. First up, we have a comment from Jun Zhang. He says that he's got a little bit of a problem with his Tesla solar install. Let's read it. Quote, so sad I ordered 12 kilowatts of PV and 2 Powerwalls back in April of 2021. Finally got installed this last month, and yesterday I got my PTO to turn on my system, but Tesla can't connect to the inverter, so now it produces nothing, end quote. And that's awful. I mean, really sad for sure. I mean, this sounds like a commissioning issue, and I'd expect Tesla will be back on site to correct it, I mean, really quickly. But it's possible that you can connect the inverter to your home Wi-Fi to correct this on your own. So I covered this back in episode 44. Episode, there was a question from Nexus Lee who was pointing out that the Wi-Fi connection to the Tesla inverter is arcane. It's difficult to establish, and you may have a similar situation, and you may be able to bring this to resolution on your own by following the instructions on the Tesla inverter connection tutorial. I have a link in the show notes, and you can find it with a Google search as well, of course. The Tesla inverter here, you can see that if you navigate down, there's a link here telling you about connectivity. I've got that connectivity page already up here. And if you wanted to navigate directly to it, you could go to tesla.com/support/energy/solar-inverter/connectivity for these additional instructions. You'll use the QR code to connect peer-to-peer with the IPv4 address in the instruction set. And that IPv4 address is listed down here. And it's there that you can make sure that the inverter is connected to your network. This should give Tesla access to your inverter so that the system can be turned on remotely rather than having to have somebody come back on site to do a recommissioning. I would definitely call your project advisor once you have the inverter on your network so they can help get your system connected. June, let us know when this is sorted out and let us know how you did it. This could be really helpful for a lot of people. All right, next up, we've got Bill Gilbrook. He is asking for me to stoke the rumor mill again. He says, Aaron, any nibbles on Powerwall 3 on the horizon, end quote. And we have several very clear indications from Tesla management on the direction they'll be taking with the home battery storage. They will be going LFP, which is lithium iron phosphate. They'll be using the 2170 form factor, and they've got a lot more supply for residential solar in 2022. I wasn't able to get any vittles from any of my contacts, though. It makes me think that the home batteries aren't really a priority at the moment, and that any kind of news like that's probably going to come after the new vehicle factories get further along in their ramp. And, as soon as more battery capacity is available for residential battery storage. So I'll let you know when I hear something, though. All right, third up, we've got Jerome King. He wrote me an email. He's got some exciting news. He says, quote, just wanted to say that we finally got PTO today after National Grid switched our meter to a net meter. It will have been 530 days from the day I placed my order until PTO, and it definitely pays to call the hotline often and ask for an update. Every time I did this, things would move forward. I know you're still waiting for PTO, but the day will come. And anyway, you're producing while you wait, so you don't really have anything to gain from PTO apart from being officially producing. Good luck, end quote. And, being able to produce while I wait definitely takes the sting away. I got to admit, it takes that fire away from me, right? So that I'm not lighting a fire under Tesla and my utility to try to get this resolved. Also, I don't think I really want to calculate my weight from the day I placed my order. It's a bit skewed with the pandemic and my order cancellation, that whole process, how it went in circles there. I suppose it's fine to calculate from the time I, placed my order the second time. It's definitely been more than a year, and it might be close to your 530-day count. But, I prefer not to look at it that way. I like looking at it from the day work begins, since that's really where the rubber hits the road. I don't know. I suppose, there's definitely some delay in the order process, so, maybe I'll add it to the overall timing for posterity's sake. I can definitely see the value, for someone that's not yet placed their order, so that they can see the full process. It definitely matters. But in any case, huge congratulations on getting PTO. I'm jealous. So thank you to Jun Zhang, to Bill Gilbrook, and Jerome King for your input. Let's hear from the rest of you. Send your YouTube links, your comments below. Call 203-816-5150. Or you can email teslapowerpodcast@gmail.com. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into the news. Dwight Adams tossed me a great link to a Wall Street Journal article on the state of our electricity grid in the United States. Quote, America's power grid is increasingly unreliable. The U.S. electrical system is becoming less dependable. The problem is likely to get worse before it gets better. Large, sustained outages have occurred with increasing frequency in the U.S. over the past 2 decades, according to the Wall Street Journal, and their review of federal data. In the year 2000, there were fewer than 24 major disruptions, the data shows, and in 2020, the number surpassed 180, end quote. I mean, that's pretty tremendous. And it reminds me of some really interesting coverage on the PG&E long-distance transmission lines done by Blancolorio, I think that's how you say it, and it's worth sharing. He's got a YouTube channel that I've got a link to below, and also his video where he is reporting on this. I first came across Blancolorio when Jack Rickard referenced his reporting. You can find a video to that original Jack Rickard. You can find a link to that original Jack Rickard video that puts all of this in context. That's one of the things that I think is really important. But what he does a lot about Blancolorio is that he doesn't give too much commentary. It's just gumshoe reporting. He's giving tons of facts, just telling you how it is. And what I wanted to share were a couple of photos from that investigation. It just reminded me of those videos. I want to make sure that you guys got an opportunity to take a look at them. In any case, from the investigation of the California wildfires, all of this, of course, led to PG&E's bankruptcy in 2019. You can see that a lack of maintenance over nearly 80 years left a lot of the physical infrastructure in a highly compromised state. In high winds, these compromised elements were failing. They were leading to electricity arcs that then led to the fires that were causing so much damage in California, so much, kind of craziness. If you guys remember all the way back to 2018 and 2019. But, most of our grid really isn't in this poor a state physically, but it certainly isn't resilient enough to be keeping up with growing populations, growing demand for electricity, and most importantly, right, the shift of highly variable sources for renewable electricity generation. I want to shout out another really great resource. Let me pull this up. They explain the United States electrical grid. That's Grady at Practical Engineering. I have a link to his video explaining how the power grid works below in the show notes. And, what he's saying is that, trees and supply and demand mismatches can cause grid failures. He's covered, in fact, 2 of the most famous or infamous failures in the U.S. power grid this century in his video series. So check those out. But back to the Wall Street Journal article, we're seeing more and more of these grid outages. And the solution for us on the residential side, it's pretty limited, really. We can either put in generators or we can put in batteries. Something that's super important to remember is you aren't able to use your solar system in the event of a grid down event unless you also have batteries. We went through a 5-day grid down event, which motivated us to get the solar roof and battery system, but we didn't know that batteries were required to be able to use solar in a grid down event before we put in our system. And our original order did not include any batteries at all. And this would have been a massive mistake. So I want to make sure I'm mentioning it here in case you didn't know either and you don't make that same mistake. So the question, of course, why would you choose batteries and solar over a generator? There's definitely the environmental aspect of it, but there's also the fuel aspect. When the electricity grid goes down, often fuel's a lot more expensive and it can run short. The biggest thing for me, though, aside from the environmental aspect and the scarcity of fuel during an emergency situation, is that maintenance is way lower on a battery system. I honestly have a hard time thinking of something worse than your generator not working when you need it because it hasn't been maintained in some way. And a lot of people don't have that kind of mechanical nous. I mean, I would say I'm better than most, and it's still a little bit intimidating to me. But batteries, they are the lowest maintenance option for backup power. And they can be recharged every day without having to go and find and purchase fuel. Everything, of course, has its strengths and its weaknesses, but I'd say the solar and battery combination is an excellent one for protecting yourself against grid down events. Next story. CNet reports on the Tesla solar option in this article here. They say Tesla solar panels might be the most affordable option. And here's everything you need to know. A little bit further down in the article, just want to get a little bit forward here. It goes on to note, while most people likely know Tesla as an electric car company, it took a major step into the solar business with its 2016 purchase of the solar company SolarCity, which was founded by cousins of Tesla CEO Elon Musk. It now installs solar panels and its unique solar roof in at least parts of 25 states and promises to match the prices of its competitors. End quote. Now, it's the price matching guarantee that this article is really zeroing in on. And as we've explored, it's really hard to get an apples to apples comparison from different solar providers. Tesla is offering a very specific system with very few options, so its pricing is one of the easiest ones to understand. And if you compare Tesla to any other solar provider offering a comparable system, I can't see anyone else being able to compete with Tesla's volume advantage. If you have gone through this pricing exercise recently, especially if you've used the Tesla pricing guarantee, we want to hear from you. So let us know how it went down in the comments. All right, the next article is from PV Magazine. They write about another off-grid battery option that's hit the market. Let's take this full screen. So Chinese storage system manufacturer BSLBatt has launched an off-grid battery for the off-grid storage of photovoltaic electricity. It's called BSLBox. The new modular battery is described by the company as a low-voltage device with a storage capacity of 5.12 kilowatt hours that can be expanded in stacking by reaching a capacity of up to 31 kilowatt hours, more or less. End quote. It's a little bit of a transliteration there. It sounds like it's like a Google Translate from Chinese. But if we compare these specs, the base storage capacity is less than half the Powerwall, which is about 13.5 kilowatt hours. The full expansion that they mentioned to 31 kilowatt hours is also pretty low compared with the Tesla Powerwall. I mean, that can be expanded up to 135 kilowatt hours. I mean, those kinds of specs don't matter that much. What really matters more, of course, is the cost for that capacity. I can't find any pricing, unfortunately, for this. It's not mentioned in the article, but if it's less than $10,000 that you would pay for the Powerwall, you might have something quite interesting. You wouldn't necessarily get the same kind of integration you get with Tesla, but anything we can do, honestly, to increase battery capacity, lower the price of home batteries, I am all in. So I'm happy to see more battery capacity and more battery options hitting the market. But that will do it for news. Let's take another quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about our latest electricity bill, and we'll compare it with this time last year. So we got our February bill. It's a little higher than I thought it might be. Part of the current challenge is the price of fuel, and since our grid isn't 100% renewable, in fact, it's not even close, we've got a coal power plant down the street, we're pretty sensitive to those increases in those fuel prices. You can see this bill this month is, that one's last year's. This one's $309.71. It's still way lower than it was pre-solar, right? Going back to last year's bill, we can see it was over $500. It was a total of $553.40. We've had a little bit of a warmer winter this year too. It's going to contribute to that lower price for sure, but we can see in the bill, if I bring that back up, this is last year's bill, and right here we used 2,240 kilowatt hours last year in the month of February. And then if I bring up the app, and if I move that over to a monthly view, we can see in the month of February, from a household consumption standpoint, our total home usage this year was 1,590 kilowatt hours. So actually down a bit from last year and contributes a bit to the lower bill on its own. But again, the increase in fuel prices makes the solar power we're producing that much more valuable, right? I definitely need to get that net metering in order to realize that additional value out of my solar system. And you know what? I don't have an update on PTO this episode, but I'll be calling on Tuesday to be getting a progress report from Tesla, and I'll let you know about that. And that will do it for us on episode 48 of the Tesla Power Podcast. Please use my referral code. That can save you $500 on a solar roof. It can save you $300 on solar panels. You can go to ts.la/Aaron62310 to place your order. And I'm Aaron Brady, your Tesla residential energy community organizer. Let's do this again on the next video.